This is me talking you through a portrait drawing. As you can see, I've spent another 10 minutes on doing the proportions on this, and I'll talk you through it. It's a portrait that I've done a couple of times. You have probably seen my pencil drawing of this. Any portrait drawer or painter have a favorite face, favorite model, muse if you like. And this is my muse. Uh, has been for the last 5 years or something. And whenever I've done a portrait or something where I have really had to work to get things to work, I return to this face because he's sort of my white balance, my return to what I really want to do with the face. I don't know how far I'll get in the time frame that I've got because it takes time to get things right. But I'll just have to see how far I can get in 5 or 10 minutes. I have a sequence in which I usually work, which is starting with the left eye, which is on the drawing is the right eye, and then I don't measure. I sort of work my way around the face and match things up. The time it takes for the eye to get from one point to the other is the time I measure, if that makes any sense to you. It's a bit like tunneling. You start with one end, and when you're finished, you hope you have matched every end up so that everything is in the right place. And sometimes it's like landing a plane with the wrong coordinations, that you crash through to the ground where you think you're going to land safely. This is a scene from one of the Die Hard film where the plane sadly crashes because the villain changed the coordinates, and that's one of the hazard. It's something that I started out, I spent a lot of time correcting the proportions, but that's the proficiency of doing it a lot of times. It's also one of the reasons that any decent portrait painter has a portrait preferred model, or some preferred model, or a favorite face they use. The more often you do this face, the more you get to know it. The more you can know what this person looks like in at any angle and in any situation, so you can make a lot of shortcuts if you have a familiarity with the face. And this is my favorite face, and it's been that type of face with the expressive eyes and the long slender face where you can see the bone structure and the expression of, which is actually not sad, but the relaxed face where you relax where the muscles are relaxed. You get to see bone structure and the muscles and everything, when you start to do expressions, it's you can get very close to the face being a caricature, and I don't really like that. I'm also doing this slowly because I simply cannot stand looking at time-lapse thing. I hate that fleety motions of the hands that you get when you see that. So this is going to take the time. I'll just work my way through all of the face, and stop at 10 minutes because it's going to take forever to upload. This is just for the hell of it. When I stop this video, I'll probably have another hour to work to get the detailing and the portrait likeness to the extent that I want to. It's that they say the divine is in the detail, and it's in the detail in little motions, the little hairs, the little shadows that you do. That's what makes the portrait really live, and you get the likeness pretty fast, or you get the life of whatever face you're doing pretty fast, but you know, the satisfaction and the completion, it takes a while to get. And I like to think, I always think of Fred Astaire and the ease that with which he dances, and you know that it takes so many rehearsals, so much practicing, so much skill to make it look that easy. And that's what my finish, when I finish the portrait, I would like to have convey that kind of ease, even though it takes like 80 hours or more to get everything just right. Every little detail, when it's not right, it sort of juts out, and I see it immediately. But when I get the detail right, it sort of disappears into the whole, into the overall expression, and that's when I know, when there's nothing that really annoys me, or when I have the feeling that I'm the only one who can see this thing isn't exactly like I want it to be. Then I stop, and I declare the thing finished, and I always leave it on the easel for a day or two, and then I sign it. And when I sign it, it's pretty much finished. But I still can continue working on it for a while. I have a spider running on my feet. That's not forcing a bit. I don't want to step on it. I love my spiders. They keep all the... I'm in the basement of the house. That's where I have my little room where I do everything, except computer. And the spiders are my friends. They keep all the other stuff away. They eat the moths. I can see it in the webs, and they eat all the little other things that comes in from the garden, and you don't want around your paper and your photographs and your CDs and whatever you got in. in your studio. I know this drawing is going to be a little bit bland when I leave it. We're a full 10 minutes. I'll probably give him another 10 minutes, and this is the first session, and I usually do a lot more hours on a drawing, and I think some of the drawings I see on the internet, I think it's like people are happy with less of a finish than I am, because I sometimes think they stop where I would have gone on working on the image for another 2 hours, maybe more. I don't know. It needs a lot of contrast. I have always been told that I'm painting like a drawing, but I've sort of reversed the process so that more or less I'm drawing as if I'm painting, with many layers, and my paintings are also many layered, and it gives the depth. It sort of brings forth the psychology of the person, to have all these little lines, these little, it's like graffiti of the face that and it adds up when you finish. It adds up to a whole, which is more than all the little lines and dots that you can hang on. This is sort of just to come full circle on this face in the first sitting, and the more shading you give it, the more contrast, the more it's going to look like the real life person. Oh, it's already come to life. And sometimes the background is needed to sort of push forth the light of the face. You need to have, I don't do outlines. I had a very good teacher who said to me when I was starting, I love outlines. Well, you just have to let them interrupt these outlines, because these outlines, I mean, if you do outlines, it's going to look like stained glass windows. But if you let the colors or the light and shade define the outlines, you have an outline, and you let it go, and you let the colors make up the outline, then it will work for you. Even if people, the eye will make up the outlines even if they're not there, but sort of make them happen anyway. This is actually good fun, talking and drawing at the same time. A lot of contrast in this. Change to a marker, because I actually started painting because I had some pencil drawings, and it took so many. You have so much dust from the pencil that to get something really dark, you have to. I had to switch to black and white acrylics to get some of the early drawings to get that kind of blackness to it. It's 1/4 hour. Give you another 5 minutes, sir, and then I'll finish the drawing and put it on next to the video, because it takes, it takes a lot of breaks to see what I'm doing. Now I'm talking, I'm just drawing, not really looking, I'm just following. I have his photograph next to me, and I'm just following it. I don't do photorealism. If it looks like a photograph, and if you put it on top of the photograph that I've used, you'll find that I bend the reality to make it, to convey the psychology. It was nothing I do intentionally. I had every intention of being another Rembrandt when I started out, but it just, for me, it doesn't work like that. I have to convey the emotion, and I exaggerate some of the things. I have some things that I idealize, and all this is just backbone drawing. It's nothing that I think, oh, I'm going to make his face a little longer, and I always focus the eyes, even if I take a photograph where they're looking at, not really looking at you. I always get that focus when I start out, because it's either they're not looking at all, or they're looking straight at you. And people say it's a mark of a good tradesman that you can, or a good artist, that if you look at the portrait, the eyes will follow you around. But anyway, it just happens. It's nothing that I really think a great deal about. It's just happening. And this is actually not bad. So I took the time to get the proportions more or less right. It doesn't mean that I can't let the shadows move. You can always move stuff a little bit, and of course you can always erase. I mean, even with this, if you use very fine grained sandpaper, you can even erase stuff. And I don't think I'll erase it. I think I'll read this as, the very raw expression of what I need to do. I've got 1.5 minutes, and then I'm on a full 20 minutes, and I'll stop. Because, I mean, this could take all day if I wanted it to, but I don't really think it's necessary. I think you can sort of see where I'm going with this, and it's nice to sort of let you into my little work of lines and cross hatchings, and you can see how every little shade and every little line brings you closer to the finished result. And if I do some crocheting, I just work them over, and it's a bit like the Great Sewing Bee. You've got 15 seconds, and then put down your pencil. And thank you for watching. It's got 5 seconds, and Thank you from Copenhagen.